All right, ladies, I believe we are probably live. Can anybody see us on their screen?
Yes.
I
All
do.
right, well, let me say good evening. I'm Dr. Sabrina Black, and I want to welcome you to the Conversations on Race. Tonight, we're dealing with the issue of colorism, and we're going to be talking about that for the next 4 weeks. If you've been following the conversations, you know that I've been doing these conversations now since the beginning of June, right after our brother Floyd was murdered. It was a tragic situation, but I tell you, so many changes have come out of that. And so many lives are currently being impacted by that. And so when we started those conversations, one of my Jewish friends contacted me. Her name was Sharona Shapiro. And she said, Dr. Black, we got to do something. What can we do? We got to do something. And so we decided to host a series of conversations. At that point, it was a conversation between Jewish women and African American women talking about raising African American sons in today's society. We dealt with the issues of racism and discrimination and prejudice and driving while Black and all of those things. But I got to tell you, at the end of that 4 week conversation, I realized that a critical piece was missing from the conversation. It was the Black man himself. And I thought about it. I said, we're talking about sons. I need to invite my son to the conversation. And so we did. I invited my son and young men around his age, that group between 35 to 55. And we had another 4 week series of conversations with the BMWs. And those BMWs were Black men of wealth, wisdom, and wit. And I tell you, these guys were so engaging, so enlightening, so educated. They were just phenomenal. And each week they would come together and talk about what it was like for them, what was their experience. Wonderful 4 weeks. But now a new journey begins. So for the month of August, I'm going to be meeting with a panel of dynamic women, and you'll get a chance to meet all of them as we talk about this issue of color. Light skin, dark skin, black skin, white skin, whatever skin you're in, I'm inviting you to join us for the next 4 weeks. So tell your family and friends to tune in 7 o'clock on Mondays. As I host this particular series, I have a co-host with me. Her name is Denise Smith. Denise and I have known each other for years, and I'm gonna let her tell you how many years as she talk about how we came together to do this project. Denise?
Hi, I'm just glad to be here, and I would like to tell you how I met Dr. Black was when I was writing a book, and they were trying to give us in the American Christian Writers Guild in Detroit, Michigan, was trying to give us tips on how to be successful.
I remember that.
Yes. Now I'm not sure. Are you 5'10"? Because I know you're taller than I am. And I was
I
going.
sometimes feel larger than life, but I'm only 5'8.5".
That's my height. But she was just like she said, larger than life. She just freed the personality, just filled the room. And in my head, I'm going, she's a chocolate girl. She got a lot of personality for a chocolate girl. So I was afraid to tell her that the first time I met her. Then she came back later where she had written a book. And I bought one of her books and I prayed. I said, God, I'm going up to say it to her. I hope it's received well. And it was. I told her, I said, girl. And I made a statement where only she and I knew the code, that I was saying for a Black woman, you are beautiful and you're statuesque and you're confident. But I didn't say all of that. It was a code that only she and I got, and she responded. That's how I knew she knew it. So I was in the midst of writing my personal story and gathering women together to do an anthology. And that time the book's name was Chocolate Girls. And that was like 18 years ago. Now,
Wait a minute, how many years ago did you say, Denise?
18
years
I was
ago.
looking at all the notes.
So listen, I want to say for anybody who's watching, if you've been working on something in the fullness of time, maybe God has had you waiting on it for such a time as this. Delay does not mean denial.
Thank you. That's correct. And so I did complete my book, and it was published. And then we kind of went our different ways doing different projects. But here we are, back together in 2 different states now, but being able to use this technology to be able to collaborate on a project and we call it now assorted chocolates, because we were only going to do dark chocolate and maybe caramel and a little milk chocolate. But folks came and approached us and said, oh no, I got to have a story too. And they said, oh no, white chocolate got a story too. So then we opened it up to all voices of chocolate.
So now we have all these assorted chocolates here on the screen, dark chocolate, light chocolate. And it's interesting, Denise, as you talk about, you know, way back then, 18 years ago, when we were coming together to do those initial projects and talking about the American Christian Writers Association, because we have the person who was actually president at that time here with us tonight. And she also launched something called Chocolate Pages. How about that? So I'm going to ask all of the ladies at this point, if you would begin to prepare to introduce yourselves. And you got to know this is a dynamic panel, so don't walk away. You don't want to miss anybody. Don't just wait for your friend to come online. Hear about every woman on the panel. So I'm going to ask Pam Perry, if you'd go ahead and unmute yourself and tell us a little bit about you, a couple of things that people just need to know. And you don't have to tell them everything, but some key points of who you are. Who is Pam Perry?
Yes. So Denise, thank you so much. And Sabrina, thank you so much. I had no idea that was 18 years ago. Ministry Marketing Solutions, the name of my company, started 20 years ago this year. So a couple of years, I guess, after Ministry Marketing Solutions launched, I said, we need to really prepare and promote authors, Christian authors. So that's when American Christian Writers started. And so I remember, Denise, you come in and oh my God, that was just, I love authors and speakers. So really we ran it for about 10 years, and then Venus Diaz took it over after that at Greater Grace. So I am a career publicist. Now I am a branding and publicity strategist, and I publish Speakers Magazine. So that's one of the things that I do still. Oh, you can't see it, I don't need to get my background. It is for Black speakers, and I'm very adamant about that. I started a social network years ago, probably about 15 years ago, I guess. It was called Chocolate Pages Network, chocolatepagesnetwork.com, and it was on its own platform. And then it became a Facebook group, and it's still there, chocolatepagesnetwork.com. And so I've always just been a big proponent of books. That's how me and Sabrina met, because I remember she was a book lover as well. You can see all the books she has in her background, right?
Books that I've actually read.
Yes. I remember Jade Books. That was one of the things when I first met you. You had Jade Books. And I was like,
Laverne, Harlan, Kimbrough, and I. Yes.
I said, I love this girl. So I was like, she loves books too. And so eventually time went on, and Speakers Magazine came about, and still promoting Black speakers. That is my thing, because we have a different voice, a different message that we need to deliver to the world. Before everything was George Floyd, I just always knew that. I'm a baby boomer, so I just it's innate for us to really just make sure that we are speaking our truth to power.
I love it, Pam, and I appreciate you saying it was before. And I think it's important for people to realize that we didn't just start doing what we're doing. We've been doing it all along. It's just that in this current season, people are starting to listen different and respond differently to what it is that we're doing. So thank you for sharing that. And Pam, if you could drop information about the Speakers Magazine into the chat section so people can find out more about that, if they want to order copies of that. And you heard Pam say that she's a brand marketer. She helps speakers and writers. And so if you're saying, man, I got a manuscript I want to do something with, I want to help develop my platform, Pam may be somebody that you want to follow up with. Now, keep in mind, she did say she's in business. She's a career publicist. So this is not a hobby. So just don't call her. Be prepared to do some business when you call
say career publicist, don't I?
Got to clarify. Somebody else, unmute yourself and tell us who you are. All right, now, you know I call on you if you don't. So, all right, why don't we go ahead and hear from Vanessa? And then after Vanessa, we're going to come to you next, Mahogany.
Hi, Vanessa Harris, and I am evangelist, minister, biblical counselor, consultant. Been doing a lot of, in the last 5 years or so, a lot of diversity training. Teacher, been in the Wayne County Community School System, pharmaceutical rep, 28 years in the pharmaceutical industry. And speaking of how many years I've known Sabrina and Pam, I met Pam through Sabrina. and just book as another book lover. But it's just amazing how far we go back. And actually, Pam's husband, Mark, and I went to school together at Eastern Michigan University. So I have, in recent years, just been doing a lot of diversity sensitivity training. I've been a member at Brightmoor Christian Church. I'm also a singer. I love ministry and gospel music, so I sing with the Thomas Whitfield Company. And this is a phenomenal time. In spite of what's going on with COVID-19, God has still been showing himself mightily in my life. And I'm just so grateful and thankful for this opportunity, Dr. Black and Denise. Certainly nice to know everyone. Looking forward to this wonderful, wonderful conversation.
Great. Thank you so much, Vanessa. All right, Mahogany.
All right, good. Hello, everybody. I wanted to jump in because I feel like I'm around so many accomplished and successful women. I was like, let me go ahead and get my little piece in now.
Girl, look, your little piece is a big piece. You just as accomplished as everybody on the panel. That's why you're here.
Thank you. But and the funny thing is, I was like, oh, she's an author. And thanks to Sanestra, I'm a co-author. So we did actually do a compilation book a few years ago that just got released too. But Mahogany Hart, I'm a mom, first and foremost, a mom and a wife. I have a couple kids, two of my own and a stepdaughter. I am married to a white man, so we're a biracial family. And I manage a call center. My day job is a call center manager. I've been at a healthcare company for almost 20 years now, which it blows my mind just to even say that out loud. A trustee at my church, so a founding member of our church here in Fredericksburg, Virginia, which is where I have connections with Mon Denise, as we call her, and Sanestra. So just thank you all for allowing me to be here, and I can't wait to learn more about all of you.
Great, thank you so much. Debbie, why don't you go ahead and go next? Dr. Debby Covington? You have to unmute yourself.
Thank you for inviting me, Sabrina. I think we go back 18, 20 years as well.
At least.
A sister in spirit, a sister in heart. I am a semi-retired performance poet. I have published a couple of books and with companion CDs. And it was through that whole performance poetry ministry that I met Sabrina and Pam Perry. And through them, I was connected to a network of amazing women. I am currently a associate pastor at my church here in Ypsilanti, Michigan, Christian Love Fellowship Ministries International under the pastorate of Harold Wimberly. I have, my day job is working at the University of Michigan in recruitment of underrepresented minority students into graduate school. And I founded a ministry in 2009 called All Things Artistic Ministries. It's a worship arts ministry whose mission is to glorify God and serve humanity through the arts.
Wow.
Debbie, is that formerly Debbie Mitchell?
It is.
I was like, that girl looks familiar.
Yeah, that is for me.
And when you said artistic, I was like, that's her. And she said poetry. And I'm like, feeling like I got a clue. I'm sorry. I'm like, hi.
I should have said Debbie Mitchell Covington. I got married 2 years ago. So
it's kind of like home week. And it's so funny. And not only she's, I'm loving me, Debbie Covington. Right. And we'll have to talk about that at some point, Debbie. You may have to do a little poetry for us, because when I think about how we connected, and that poem was so key, because when people heard, they say, man, this is a dark-skinned sister singing a song. It's like, I'm loving me.
Amen.
You know, it's like, because you got to love the skin you're in. And so, all right, somebody wanted to go next. Angela, you want to jump in? And after Angela, maybe we hear from Reverend Maria.
Hello, everyone. I want to first thank you guys for this opportunity. And I came after some wonderful women. I haven't written anything. Maybe some things have been written about me. I don't know how positive, but I am a retired labor lawyer. I worked 12 years in the district government as a social worker. I modeled for 14 years. I've done a lot in my life. I've been an evangelist since 2009, 11, I'm sorry. I met this wonderful Zion family, and that's how I came and got involved with you all, is through Minister Denise and Mahogany and my new lovely family. But I've always had it in my mind that I needed to write a book of something, because I have had a lot of challenges, and modeling and all of the things that hit me in my face. I started at age 14. So, and I'm 56 years old. So during that climate, there was some problems that I had to encounter. So I'm looking forward to this week. I'm looking forward to you ladies. I'm looking forward to making some lasting friendships and fellowships.
We're looking forward to as well, Angela. And listen, you talking about you haven't done much. I'm thinking you've had 10 careers, sound like. You said, did I hear you say you were a lawyer? And then I heard you say you were a social worker, and that you were a model when you were 14. So we need to change that narrative. You got a lot of stuff you can write about and talk about, and we're going to look forward to seeing some of it in print next year. How about that?
How about that? Okay.
We have some book coaches online, and we're going to help you get some stuff in print.
Sounds good.
All right, Reverend Maria, where are you? Let's hear from you.
Oh, hello, everybody. First of all, Dr. Sabrina and Denise, thank you for the privilege and the honor to be on this amazing panel. And as I was born in the 60s, you all know there's a lot of things that were happening in the early 60s. And I have a little bit of a story that I'll tell probably at another time, but I'm privileged and honored to be the assistant pastor of Greater Life Christian Fellowship Church here in Newark, New Jersey. I met Dr. Sabrina, probably about 15 years ago, I think, Doc. And it was with the Institute for Black Family Development as Dr. Matthew Parker, one of our dear mentors. He has Global Summit. And so now at this point in time, we met, and I looked at Dr. Sabrina and I said, ooh, she knows she's gorgeous. And it just meant so much, because I was at a point in my life where I was realizing my own gorgeosity. And so through all of the years,
your own gorgeosity.
My own gorgeosity. Trust me, it's been a troubling time. But through it all, I've also been privileged through the years to work alongside my husband in forming our own nonprofit street outreach ministry. I was homeless as a teenager. There's a lot of things we dealt with, as my mother and my father were both involved in the Black Panther movement, and also Dr. King, all at the same time. And through all the turmoils and troubles of life, I had to figure out my identity in the midst of all of that. And as an African-American woman, yes, both of my parents are Black. I tell you, I've asked God many times, what were you thinking, Daddy? But all the more, I've come to the privilege and honor of being a minister for about 31 years, a street outreach minister for 33 years. And in the process of it, I've worked the corporate arena, I worked at the World Trade Center, and done a lot of things that I now bring to the nonprofit arena, particularly as African-Americans, to strengthen what we do and to be taken more seriously as African-Americans. And so as we continue on this panel, I'm so thankful. I'm a contributing author, and Dr. Sabrina encouraged me even in that walk of life alongside my husband. I've been part of quite a few works that we've had the privilege to write, and we've been celebrating all of her writings. And as my husband is the president of the Global Summit, I'm also the operations manager of that product as well. So God bless you all, and thank you again for the privilege.
Thank you, Maria. And it's interesting that you say that both of your parents are Black, because, you know, at some point I was going to ask you that and decided it didn't matter. Because I remember when I met you thinking, I loved you and all your gorgeosity too. And I said, that girl, no, she's somebody. And I said, she the blackest light-skinned sister I've ever met. Look.
Yes, yes, yes.
I said, if your soul had a color, your soul would have been Black.
You know, that's right. And I celebrate you all in my darker hues. And it is a real privilege to watch you all walk in the beauty of that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. All right. Let's hear from Sanestra. Sanestra, you want to jump on in there? And after Sanestra, we're going to come to Marlyn.
Hello,
I'm sorry,
everyone.
Dr. Debra, you didn't, I'm sorry, Sanestra,
okay.
Dr. Debra Harris. Then we're gonna come back to Sanestra, then Marlyn.
Okay. Thank you, because I really was trying to unmute myself. Sabrina, you have to tell them how long we've been knowing each other. And this is a big challenge for me because if I hate anything, I hate talking about myself. So this is going to be quick, y'all. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm a retired family therapy professor. I'm an author. And I have started a movement called How to Love because I think that's what the world needs. And that's all I got to say.
Oh, you got a whole lot more to say.
That's all I got to say. You got four more times to talk. I'll throw some stuff in there.
Wait a minute.
Okay, I'm gonna let you have that.
Thank
just
you.
so we can
Thank
keep
you.
moving. But just so you know, Debra is also a published author of several books, and I think one of Debra's first books I got a chance to be a part of. I think I wrote a forward for your second book or something, but she helped to edit one of my first books, which was Can Two Walk Together? And so if you see the name on there, Debra Nixon, that would be her. Debra Harris was Debra Nixon at the time, and she wrote a book called Womanhood. And it was just it was radical for me because I didn't think in terms of womanhood. I always think in terms of personhood. But she really helped me with this idea of the feminine soul. And so I was really grateful for that. And she's not only Dr. Debra, but she's Reverend Dr. Debra. And she'll tell you a little bit more about that because she also oversees a ministry in the city of Florida as well, where she's from, in the state of Florida. All right, so ladies, if you want to go ahead and jump in there.
Hello, everyone. This is Sanestra Whiting. I really appreciate even being considered to be on this panel. This is a wonderful thing. You guys are all gorgeous. But I am a mother of three, grandmother. I have one granddaughter. She is beautiful, a very blessed gift in my life and my son's life. I'm an author. As you heard Mahogany Hart speak, we have a book called The Journey 730 that speaks on women in their first time of even having their first child and what they went through. And it's 10 authors in our book. I'm also a radio host of Inspiration Connections Radio. Just got blessed with another opportunity, so I'm really looking forward to that. On the side, I'm a travel agent, party planner. I think I do everything under the sun. And I'm also the choir director of Zion Church of Fredericksburg. And I so love my church family. Ma Denise, we call her. I'm really so glad I got to meet her and all of her glory. She is a wonderful woman of God and really supports everything that we do at Zion. But I'm blessed to have to see this Perkins down there, the lawyer, that I didn't know about that either. But life is wonderful. Just being who I am, I'm really starting to start loving myself a lot more in my skin, because, you know, we are our worst critics when it comes to how we look sometimes. And sometimes we look at others and we're like, oh gosh, I wish I could look like that. But we are beautiful the way God made us. So just really blessed to be on this panel with all of these wonderful, successful women. And thank you so much again for this opportunity.
Great. Thank you, Sanestra. And thank you, Ma Denise, for bringing these phenomenal women to the table. All right, Marlyn, let's hear from you.
Hello, ladies. Like Miss Debra, I'm gonna keep it short. I'm honored to be here amongst you women. It's such an honor. I feel underprivileged. You've done so much, and I look up to each and every one of you, and I enjoy hearing your stories, your bios. So the first thing about me is I love God, I love Jesus, I love the Holy Spirit. I just have joy. And one of my biggest accomplishments is that I'm a mom of 11 daughters, and I have one granddaughter.
Okay, Marlyn, you have to say that again because people weren't sure what you said. Everybody linked in to hear it.
She just dropped the mic right there.
Repeat.
Drop the mic. Talk about she feel under whatever. Listen, she get the badge, award, the whole thing.
Oh, thank you.
Here we go. Drop the mic.
Daughters too?
Amen.
Like, really? Oh my God. All that hair. Oh my God.
Oh.
11 daughters.
Oh my God. And they were all
Continue,
teenagers.
madam.
I can't even. No wonder she loved God, Jesus, and the Holy Ghost.
I love it. I love it. I'm a community engagement manager. I'm a community engagement manager right now. My job for a nonprofit. It's 3 years old. It's growing really fast. I'm a community fitness coach. I just love my community, and I just look forward to what God has for me. I feel like I've been doing a lot, but I haven't. I'm not done yet. So I'm just looking. I'm excited about what He has for my future and my girls.
That's right. You are not done yet. And I got to tell you, she has 11 daughters. All of her daughters' names start with the letter S. So Marlyn, if you can give us a rundown, starting with her oldest daughter, which is my namesake, Sabrina.
Yes, that's my number one. It's Sabrina, Simone, Samara, Samaya, Saleya, Sydney, Sage, Savannah, Shelby, Cecilia, and Sabella. I got off track because I went out of order. I got to keep it in order.
That's right. That's right. So,
and I've known Sabrina for a long. I'm sorry.
We've known each other for a very long time. I run a program called Girls with Great Potential. That's an international program, and many of Marlyn's daughters were part of that program. And let me say, she is the mother of 11 daughters who was married when she had 11 daughters. Because I know a lot of times when people hear you got that many kids, it's like, how she got that many kids? She married, she looked good, 11 daughters, and she raised every last one of them in the fear and admonition of the Lord. So high five.
We have our struggles, trust me.
All right.
That was too good. That was too kind of her, that intro. Thank you.
All right. So we can go ahead and hear from Catrina. Catrina, you there? And then after Catrina, we're going to hear from Mahogany. There's our second Mahogany that's on board. So let's hear from Catrina first, and then we'll hear from Mahogany.
Hi, everybody. How y'all doing, beautiful ladies? Just real quick, thank you so much, Dr. Sabrina, for allowing me to be on. My schedule is like yours on Jam, but I could not miss this Monday. No Mondays. I'm so excited to be a part of this. I am Catrina Hurst, and I wear a lot of hats, but one of my main things, like you say, is I love God. He is the center, the everything, and I thank God for him. I just want to let you all know, let's see here. I don't even know where to start. I'm an author. I wrote a book, Busy Woman to Businesswoman, the 10 steps on starting a business, walking by faith. And it's not just for people to start a business, but it's for people to learn how to sustain a business. I'm an entrepreneur. After working at Children's Hospital since I was 15 years old, that was my only job. God retired me after I started seeing a lot of the kids being abused, molested, just being treated wrong. And they were coming from daycare centers. And I said, well, who takes care of these kids? And people were complaining, saying they couldn't find anybody. I said, I'm going to open up a daycare. So I left my great paying job. I graduated from college, Wayne State, and went up and stayed home. My husband, I had just got married. We had one son, and God said, open up a daycare. And I was like, at first I was like, no, but God said, do it. I went on and followed him. I said, yes, sir. Been doing it now for 18 years. And I love every bit. I love every bit. I started in my basement for 2 years. And then God showed me a building. So I've been in my building now for, ever since then. From there, God had birthed me a ministry called Proms for Moms. It just turned into a nonprofit about 3 years ago, but I was just doing it out of my daycare center. And Proms for Moms is a nonprofit now that we help sponsor high school seniors with their prom attire. So we do dresses, tuxedos, everything they need, boys, girls, rides, hair, nails, makeup, it's the whole shebang. So I've been doing that now for about 13 years. My sister, she wrote a letter to Oprah Winfrey about me to tell Oprah about Proms for Moms and what I do for the community, which I didn't even have a clue. She wrote a letter about me, and Oprah invited me to her show. So when Oprah invited me to her show to talk to her about Proms for Moms, it was a surprise show. It was her 2010 favorite thing show. And I didn't have a clue. I'm just want to tell her, like I just told you, about Proms for Moms. And we get there, she gifts us with all of these gifts and everything, gives us a car and all this stuff, because I was a community hero, which I didn't even feel like I was. I just was trying to help the children, the teenagers. So from there, I didn't need a car. I said, thank you, Oprah. I sold my car back to I sold my car back to them, took that money, and my husband, we opened up a restaurant at Eastland Mall called Mr. Larry's Cafe right by K&G and opened up a boutique called Throne Boutique. So Oprah helped me to reinvest my money. Thank you, Oprah. Thank you, Jesus. And to be able to start the business. So from there, God, he birthed me a modeling school, because I've been modeling since I've been like 18 years old. But I wanted to teach others how to be able to do it and keep their clothes on and be, and just be, in right taste. Even though I know it takes all different types of ways to model, but God, he told me to do it. So again, out of obedience. And from there now, I have this launched the Throne Room Groove, which is a Friday night live one-woman fashion show where I do a fashion show every Friday night. And I have dialogue with the women through Facebook Live, and we talk, we laugh, we pray, we just have such a great time. And from there, God has birthed Queens. And Queens is qualified, unique, educated, encouraging, and nurturing sisters. And that is a new project that I'm working on. I'm trying a YouTube channel where I'll be hosting next year my first 100-woman fashion show. So I'm so excited about this. And I'm in the midst of that, I do praise dance. I'm a praise dancer, and I have a praise team, and I'm a member of
she keep giving birth. She keep giving birth. She keep giving birth. Look,
and I'm
if you're feeling pregnant, don't worry about it. Give birth.
I have to push out, y'all. I have to push out. I'm a high praise. I belong to High Praise Church under Bishop Hatton and Prophetess Joyce Hatton, and I'm an evangelist there. And that's it. And my mom had 6 daughters, so I was raised with all sisters. So I know how it is. I love all of my sisters. We're like this. So I thank you. I'm glad she said 11 girls. My mom wanted 8 girls, but got 6, no boys. So I totally understand how she feels about the girls. I love sisters, and with my daycare center, I love all children. So it's just these are all a ministry to me. It's not just like a business, but it's definitely ministry. So thank you so much, Dr. Sabrina. Oh yeah, and Cole. I met Dr. Sabrina, my son Cole, by her being a missionary. He has a foundation. We have one son. I've been married for 20 years, y'all. I just had my
celebrate your anniversary. Yes.
And so our son Cole, we have one son. He sends packages with Dr. Sabrina when she goes on her missions trips. And he's also an entrepreneur. He'll be 19 in August, and he's a photographer, has a clothing business, and he has a candy store, and he gives, he has a heart to give as well. So it's just, we're just a family that loves to serve.
A family that loves to serve, a family full of greatness, and notice they keep giving birth to greatness. And so again, if you're watching and you're going, now who are these people? This is the conversation on race, dealing with the issue of color. You're getting a chance to meet the phenomenal women who are on the panel. And every last one of these women are doing great things. And they're not great because of what they do. They're great because of who they are and whose they are. And so every last one of these women are phenomenal, and you'll get a chance to learn more and more as the weeks go by, as we talk about this whole issue of colorism. So we have our last panel guest who's going to give a chance to introduce herself, and they say that the last shall be first. And so Mahogany, if you want to unmute yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are, just a few points of things that people need to know.
Definitely. So my birth name is Mahogany Marshall, and I am Mahogany Jones. I'm a recording artist and performance artist. I'm an arts educator, a U.S. musical ambassador, and a believer in Christ, and a new mom, as you see. Yeah, she's doing her thing. She's just chilling. I needed to take her for a walk so she wouldn't turn up during our conversation. And yeah, so I've pretty much, and also just an advocate for women and for African-American women and just African-Americans in general. I started something called a Pure Movement, in which we did different initiatives to just kind of speak out on things that people had shoved under the rug when it came to women. So everything from domestic violence to sexual assault awareness to colorism. So I'm definitely excited to get to engage in this conversation because I think it's very important for several reasons. So yeah, that's just a quick overview about me. So yeah.
Just a quick overview. And of course, she left out that she's an international recording artist and that she's traveled around the world on several different grants and fellowships that she's been able to receive for the work that she does. And Mahogany was also active with the union for several years and also active with Girls with Great Potential. She was one of our leaders organizing that and helping those young ladies to discover who they were in the world. And so again, thanks Mahogany. And thanks to all of you ladies. It's like, woo, come on, high five somebody. Look, all these phenomenal women on the panel. Look at that, high five, high five. So
All
Denise, there were so many different things said and so many different directions that we can go in. But let me tell you, and this is not on the scripts. I know don't anybody try to find out where that is on the paper. But one of the things that Catrina said was that as a model, she was trying to help young women learn how to be modest, model, and keep their clothes on.
Mm.
And right when she said that, the first thing I thought about was the very first Miss Black universe, the Miss America who was Black. Everybody remember Vanessa Williams and how we celebrate.
Yes, yeah.
She didn't get to keep her crown for a week because as soon as she reached prominence, somebody just decided to pull out some old photos of her where she had took her clothes off. And that was it. And unfortunately, that's kind of like the story for a lot of Black women, that as soon as you make it somewhere, as soon as you start to do what you do, there's somebody in the wings looking to pull out some dirt, pull out some trash, find something about you. And I think for me, that's one of the reasons I learned to tell my own story. One of my mentors taught me early, you need to learn how to profit from your problem. And he says, whatever it is that you've done, you tell it. That way you can make sure you tell it well and you tell the right points. And that you can also make sure that it's not just about what happened, but how you overcame what happened. And so I know all of you ladies have stories about overcoming, dealing with issues of color. And so we want to talk about that. So Denise, well, what's the first question that you want to ask them? Because I know there's a lot of things that we can talk about.
Well, I like always asking the question, has it always been great living in your skin? Did you have things to overcome? Now, before we ask you that question, I just wanted to say while I'm doing the research on this topic, it wasn't my skin that I had trouble with. I had trouble with my height, my feet, and my weight. And so I said, I was too busy worried about those. And then I go, well, hey, I had discrimination. I've been through prejudice situation. But I didn't get that till I got up to the university in Ann Arbor. And then with my employer in the state of Michigan. So being in a Black city, I didn't experience that until I left the comfort of Detroit. So you can answer that question any way you want to, but comfort in the skin that I wear and the color was not my issue. So if you don't have that issue, tell us how it feels. Are you comfortable now? I love my chocolate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a lot. So I see Pam Perry's mic unmuted, and so we'll go with Pam first. But you know, when you talk about being Black, you're dealing with whether your size of your nose, the size of your lips, the size of your hips, the size of your thighs, the size of your feet, you know, the color of your skin, the texture of your hair. And so there are a lot of different things that go into what's considered beautiful. So Pam, if you can talk some about that.
Yeah, I'm kind of like Denise. I didn't really, growing up in Detroit, Black neighborhood, Black church, you know, that sort of thing. But I didn't really experience racism per se until maybe my college years. And at that point, I was called the N-word. Had never been called that in my life. And I remember I was walking with my girlfriend, Yolanda, and I dropped what I had. I dropped my books, and it was a group of white boys. And they were bigger than me. And I jumped up in their face and said, "What did you call me? What did you call me? What did you say?" And they all backed off. I guess they thought like, this girl is crazy. She may have a gun. But at that point, it didn't even dawn on me that this is a group of white boys that could have stomped me down. My girlfriend ran.
She's not the one to have with you in the alley. Look,
she ran, and I just, and my heart just palpitated like, oh my God! I'm just like, it just infuriated me. We're on with the same school, you know, and you're gonna just, you know, we were just walking down the street and just called us an N-word and just, you know, and that kind of thing. Just from that point on, I've been really conscious about that, you know, just like how all of a sudden you just see me different. You just see me as that. It's like, you know, so that was my nothing happened. They ran away. Thank God.
But they figured if you yet your size was willing to get up in their face, they figured they better back down because they know.
Oh yeah, I had that whole like, you know,
I've been trying to practice, but I can't do the neck thing. Look.
Oh yeah, it was definitely like one of them.
Look, I see y'all laughing at me. Look. All right. Somebody else talk about what it's like to be in your skin.
So I think I can. Oops.
Go ahead,
no,
Mahogany.
Go ahead. I see you, Mahogany. Go ahead.
Hey, no. I think I can relate to our host in the fact that I think growing up, I felt like a lot of my issues were my height, my weight, just the way that I looked. But when I go back and I think about how anytime I went anywhere, I was very aware, and I'm still very acutely aware that I am Black. That double consciousness, like you're automatically aware. And I think especially as a woman, as women, we're supposed to be beautiful. We're supposed to be endearing, and I realized that because I was big and because I was dark, that as opposed to being perceived as being alluring or, inviting, I was a threat. And anywhere I went, even now, I think there's times where I really still struggle in regards to just being in my skin and the perception of, even the tone of my voice, that the tone of my voice is not gentle or soft. You know what I mean? That my height is, that I have stature on top of being dark, and being dark is something in America, or just being Black or being in the skin, especially when you're darker, is seen as a threat, so always that, again, that double consciousness of, oh, let me tone it down. Let me make sure that I'm not coming across as the typical, angry Black woman, even in, it's odd, even in my marriage, just making sure like, okay, your wife, where's your sweet tones, and it's like, yeah, I think that a number has been done on us being in the skin.
How tall are you?
5'11".
Okay, so there's your tall girl, Denise, that you were asking about. Because I'm only 5'8.5", and I count my half. Look.
But you're tall. You're still tall. 5'8".
Thank you. Thank you. But as you talk about being comfortable in the skin you're in, being tall is okay now. But when I was younger, being tall wasn't good, because I was always the tallest person in the room at all of my grade levels, taller than the boys. I was the darkest person in the room, and I had the most to say of anybody in the room. And so I stood out for a lot of different reasons, and they weren't always the good reasons as perceived by other people. Somebody else, being in the skin you're in, what was it like? Go ahead, Angela.
So my problem came as being a little girl, and my family started being prejudiced against me. I was darker than my parents, so I couldn't possibly have belonged to my father. So his family ostracized me. I was just, and I didn't understand what prejudice was. I didn't understand why they didn't like me, but I always liked me, no matter what. I've always been comfortable in I don't know how that happened, but I had a loving, nurturing, caring mom. But they treated me really, really bad. And that was from the time I got here. And they never would buy me anything because my mother tried to overcompensate because they didn't do anything for me. I had too much. So then I became that person too. So that's where I started getting
that you say that people looked at you and said that you couldn't belong to your father. Yeah,
because I was too dark. I was darker than my mom and dad.
Mm-hmm. And see, I would look at you and say you almost too light. And so again, it's a matter of perception, whether you're dark or light, depending on who's looking at you and who's judging. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go ahead, Sanestra.
So I can say on my part, growing up, I didn't get the racial ordeal. I didn't get it until I went into the service. And actually it started in boot camp, where we would run, and we were the faster runners, or they pushed us a little bit harder. And there was a time where when it came to the education, and we were doing firefighting, and it was very difficult. So the way the military works is if you don't pass the test, you go back 2 weeks and have to restart that section. And so it was me and a Spanish young lady. We both got sent back so we had to take all of our stuff, all of our gear back up and go to another unit. And so we did, but when I got there, it was the weirdest thing. They were sectioned off into race. So in the front, they were all Caucasian. In the middle, they were Spanish. And in the back were all the African Americans.
Wow.
So when I got there, they literally said, okay, you go to the back and you're in the middle. And she looked at me because we had been buddies. You know, we didn't run that way before. We had been buddies. And she goes, no, is there a seat is there a bed next to her? And they were like, you can't do that. And so it didn't really register with us. And she was like, no, I'm going back there with my sister, you know? So they were upset with us. But the problem is also that they were failing because they wouldn't unite. So that they sent me to a failing group. And they didn't know how to study. Some of the ladies that were African-American back there, it's like they didn't have the drive, and I couldn't understand that. My mother always taught me drive, no matter what. And the worst thing about it, I can say, is the person that was treating me in a racist manner was my platoon leader, who was Black. And she was a maybe 5 foot. But she was very harsh, very rough. She would make me do, you know, she would get mad because I smiled a lot. And I had that ambition to say, come on, ladies, you guys can do it. I'm an encourager. That's what I do. And I got them all to mix up their beds one night. We all just quietly moved all of our stuff and mixed up. And she was so upset that she made me first. She made me basically, I had to do all these push-ups in the shower, but what she didn't realize is my brother had already prepared me to be hard sometimes. Sometimes you got to just take it for everybody else. And that's what I did. But what she didn't realize was the unity that I created while I was in there being that strong Black woman. All of my ladies came and started doing it with me in the showers, fully clothed, gear and everything. And it was so touching, such a touching moment. But I didn't realize that people actually still separated themselves. And why? And why couldn't she see me that I'm your sister? I'm just like you. I'm just trying to make it. You know, I was only 18, but it was really harsh and really hard. And then that's when she told me, well, you know, you're probably Mexican anyway. And I was like, both of my parents are Black. My dad's from South Carolina. Come on, you know, and it was really hard for me. After that, then I started looking at people different, which isn't good. You know, we push harder because they treat us different. They treat us like we're not going to succeed. You can't do this. You can't create a book. You can't have all of these different you can't have all of these different businesses. There's no way a Black woman can do that. And there are master's degrees out there. You know, you can do all that you can do as long as you put your mind to it. So, I mean, but that was where everything started for me.
Wow. Well, let me say, Sanestra, thank you so much for your service, first of all. And then thank you not only for your service to your country, but your service to your sisters, you know, in the way that you were able to unite them and to bring them together. And sometimes it only takes one person to take a stand. And a lot of times we don't want to have to be that one. But I'm so thankful for the lesson that your brother taught you earlier, that sometimes you have to just take it for the team, you know. But you know, it's interesting. One of the points you made was about how the person who was your leader, your platoon leader, was harder on you, and she was a Black woman. And sometimes we're harder on each other than other people are on us. And we can say we mean well, we just want to help the other person, we want to help see them succeed, but we have to love each other into the faith. We want to unify one another. We can't just be hard on each other and put each other down. I mean, one of the things that I'm really big about is discipleship and mentorship and women helping women, you know, and celebrating our sisters, you know, because sisters got it going on. And every woman you meet, Black, white, or otherwise, you have no idea what she has gone through just today. And so when you see her, celebrate her. Don't put her down, but figure out what can I do to help her and help elevate her and bring her to the next level. Debra, if you want to talk some, Dr. Debra Harris, if you can talk some about your story of color, because you have a very interesting story and this is a great place to tell it. I know, go ahead.
Oh, I probably was going to start with what Angela was saying.
Okay, go ahead, start there.
It was nothing for somebody to call you Black when I was a little girl, and that was a bad thing with your Black self. I heard that, and as a matter of fact, I was that. And I didn't know, well, my parents did not mistreat me, or family members didn't mistreat me because I was dark. I had another little cousin about my age. We were probably the darkest ones of our age. And I was dark. I don't know how I got caramel. That started happening later. As a matter of fact, I identified as a dark girl until I was in high school, and somebody said I was light, and then I said I'm light. But growing up, I saw myself as a Black girl, and I mean a dark Black girl, and I was dark because I spent most of my summers outside all day long till the shade switched. Anyway, but in my family, being Black was not it wasn't demonized, but there was an understanding that it's not as good as being light. And the only reason why I knew that because I overheard people saying things, but nobody ever treated me or my other cousin who was as dark as I was like we were dark girls and therefore something was wrong with us. But that was the culture that we were living in. And outside, somebody would call you Black, and that means they might as well call you the N-word or some other word, because that's what Black meant in the early 60s in my community. And so I think it's just a part of the way we think, and we know where it came from, from the plantation and separating the house Negroes and the field ones and all of that, just division. We know where it came from, but we have to recognize that it is a part of how we came up to love Black. And by the 70s, to be Black and proud, that's when things start to change and people start to acknowledge, okay, well, it's not a bad thing. And I am not. Oh, somebody just mentioned this the other day, that the Bible does not say I am Black but comely. The Bible original word says I am Black and comely.
And comely, absolutely.
And so even those kinds of things have been mixed up to make us feel bad about ourselves. And so when I think about where I've come from in terms of the way I used to think about being Black, because I've called somebody Black and meant it in a negative way. I'm going to acknowledge that because that's the culture I was raised in. But by the time I got to college, then me and a girl about the same color as I was, we were always trying to see who was the darkest. So being Black became a beautiful thing, and we wanted to be darker than what we were. We finally agreed we're about the same color because that's what everybody told us. But the whole point is we can't deny that that's a part of our culture. That's a part of the way we've been taught to think about ourselves, and that makes it a thing. And I guess we're having this conversation to say it is back there, but how did we deal with it? And I love me, and I love us, and I love me then, and I love me now. And this story she's trying to get me to tell, don't even ask me where this comes from. The only thing I can say about it is it started happening maybe in 2006, and I didn't even know it was happening because it was on the back of my neck. So unless I had two mirrors, I couldn't see that my pigmentation was changing. And about almost 14 years later, this is where I am now. Now I'm probably 50% this other lack of pigmentation, but it's not. But I don't know. I guess because I never had a problem with my color, even when I was dark. I was just dark, and as I got older, I became tan, and now I'm tan. And now this is pink, bright pink, but it's just what I am. And it doesn't mean anything. And the only reason why I have makeup on is because I put makeup on when I do stuff like this. But I don't go to the store in makeup, and I don't go to the trash can in makeup. I will not be tormented by this. But I know a lot of people are. But I guess that just comes from whatever your idea is about what beauty is. And I know that's one of the questions that you asked. But I said all that to say that it's in there, and it's just something we have to reckon with. And I guess that's part of why we're talking.
Yeah, and definitely it's something we have to reckon with, and that's why we're talking, because again, people look at you a certain way because they don't know what to make of it. Like I say, man, she's so dark, or man, she's so light, or wow, her eyes are blue, or man, her eyes are green, or man, her skin is two-tone. And so we become to realize that the skin color doesn't matter because we're one race. Yeah. All of you are my sisters, some of you are my cousins, but we're family. One race, light skin, dark skin, black skin, white skin, mixed skin, it doesn't matter. And the sooner we learn that and embrace people and love people, the better off we're going to be as a society.
Can I say something about that?
Yes, ma'am, you can.
Because until you we can't move until we deal with where we are. We know how racism in our country, we're not talking about like we really need to. And I know that's part of what you're doing, but it's the same thing with colorism. Until we acknowledge, like I said, I have called somebody black when I was little, and I meant it, just like I said it. For me to say that, that means that's the context in which I was living. So I cannot be mad at somebody who still has a problem with somebody being dark. They don't think that's beautiful. They just haven't overcome. I would just say that. They haven't come to grips with what beauty really is and where it lies, and the beauty in Black. And we have to give those people grace. They're doing the best they can, given what they know. And when they know better, with Maya Angelou, people do better.
You know, one of the problems that we have is that we have pushed this issue to the side, and we blamed everybody else for our problems. But at some point, we have to take responsibility and be able to come to the conclusion that we define the beauty, regardless of the history. Because the more now I'm a counselor, that's one of my hats. And if we don't get to the root of what the problem is, how we got it here, that means a lot of historical checking it out. Because beauty, what Black was beautiful when everybody was over in Africa until the Dutch came, and the Africans thought that these were people, they were ghosts, because they weren't used to seeing skin that had not been touched by the sun. And by that evolution and the slave trade and all of that, it flipped when it got here. So Black started out beautiful. It still is.
Somebody's always trying to flip the script. That's why you need to know what the script is and create a new narrative, right? Go ahead, Maria. I see you ready to jump in. After Maria,
I'm ready.
Catrina.
Well, as Denise asked, has it always been great living in your skin? No, it was not always great living in my skin. And particularly as I was brought up in the Hill District of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and brought up to the pride of who we were as a race. I was taught in school, even though we were the poorest, lived in the worst projects of Pittsburgh, we were taught to have pride in ourselves. But I do remember going back to about close to 6 years old, coming home one day crying. And I said, Mommy, I said, how come they calling me nigger? They call me hunky. They call me Oreo. They calling me all these names, guy. I said, what is this, Mommy? What is it that they're calling me? Because I didn't quite understand. All I knew was I was proud, right? And so, because we were I'm Black and I'm proud, even back then in the 60s. And so my mother said, oh, baby, we got to have a talk. We got to have a talk. And my mother's a little bit darker than I am, not much. And she said, we got to have a talk. So she sat down with me, and long story short, she said, well, you know, you got Black blood running through your veins. I'm Black, your father's Black. And she said, but you know what? There's some people who choose to pass. And she explained to me, even I remember that conversation like it was yesterday. She said, and you have a choice to make today. And I want you to think about it. You can choose to pass to be white, or you can choose to be who you are. And I said, Mommy, I don't have to think about that. I'm Black and I'm proud. And I've always had such a pride of us as our people. Both of my families trace back to slavery. And of course, you know, there's some Indian in there. Y'all know there's a white person somewhere about 3 or 4 generations that I found out about too. But all said and done, I said to myself, why aren't my brothers and sisters proud? Why don't they realize the great skin, the great features, the great hair that they have? And my heart would weep because I felt like I was the ugly one. I always, for a long time, until I was a teenager, and really got a hold of the word of God and realized before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And then when I started really embracing that God did not make any mistakes because I thought I was a mistake, then I realized that I had a contribution to give to my people. And that was to say, please don't miss the beauty of your skin. Don't miss the depth of your tight hair. Don't miss your beautiful nose and lips that I wished that I had. Now, I came to a point of accepting thing. At that point, when I was about 15, 16 years old, I started kind of thinking about, okay, God doesn't make mistakes. But I remember I was 17 years old. And I had just gone to college. I went a little bit early. And one day I was crying and I was calling myself ugly in the mirror. I was like, you're so ugly. You're so white looking. Why you gotta, God, why you gotta make me like this? And it was the first time I felt the heart of God weep. I felt a weep in my spirit that he was like, I could actually just like see a teardrop, if you will. And I remember thinking that I was putting down his creation. And so that's when I came to realize that God does not make any mistakes. And if nothing else, part of my mission, as I've come to learn now, and almost being in my upper 50s, almost being 60, I realized that I've had the privilege and the honor of being able to help my brothers and sisters realize how handsome and beautiful they are. But guess what? I also realize that I am too. And so we of all hues, my family, y'all look like my family, y'all look like my children. Y'all look like my brothers and sisters. And so can we come to a place of celebrating that God does not make mistakes and really realizing we are great in the skin that we are in?
Oh, Denise, you tapped into something, girl. You tapped into something. Listen, no, it's interesting. When I look at Dr. Debra Harris now, and, and she's talking about, she don't know how this happened. And I look at myself and how dark I am. And I used to wonder, Lord, how did this happen? And I remember growing up that being dark wasn't a good thing, and it wasn't an issue until I was like kindergarten's first grade. And I was talking before about my friend Shelly, who was a little white girl at the time. And somebody said, why are you with her? She's dirty. And I remember wondering, who is she talking about? Because if Shelly was dirty, you'd see it because she light. And I'm not dirty because I took a bath. So who is she talking about? And at that point, our relationship changed. And I remember kept thinking, people look at me and think I'm dirty. And I kept wondering, how do I wash the black off? How do I get this off of me? And I don't know who of you remembers this cream. It was Arnold Palmer. I don't know if anybody remember, y'all old enough to remember Arnold Palmer, but Arnold Palmer was a bleaching cream. And the idea of Arnold Palmer, it was supposed to help get the spots out when you hurt yourself and you got a bruise and you get a little bruise that turns dark. If you put the Arnold Palmer on there, it would make it smooth again. And I remember thinking, wow, what if I put Arnold Palmer all over my whole body? Maybe I can get the spots off of me. Maybe I can lighten my skin. And I realized it didn't work. I would take 2 and 3 baths a day when I was a little kid, just trying to see if I could lighten up. And I remember being so disappointed, realizing I was going to be dark and there was nothing I can do about it. But then you guys remember in 1967, 68, say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. I see you over there, Debby. Hey, and everybody had their fist up and it was like, yeah, I'm black and I'm proud. And all of a sudden somebody wrote a theme song for me. And I was like, wow, I'm black and I'm proud. And so I got a chance to own my blackness. And then we moved from Ohio to the Detroit area and Motown was happening and everybody was singing and dancing in the streets. And I ran into all these other dark folks. And I'm like, wow, we happening. And it became a really cool thing. But still, I was always the darkest one in the room, no matter where I went. But God was sending me to a lot of white audiences. And so I'm going to go ahead and be the first one to admit it that I liked my white brothers and sisters. I didn't have an issue with them because I just saw them as folks. I saw them as people just like me because God had sent me there and was putting me in those audiences. And I spent more time doing ministry in the white community even before I started doing ministry in the black community. I remember the first time I did ministry in the black community, I was almost scared because they talk back. I mean, it sounds strange, but white people take notes. They sit up straight, they listen, they polite, and they take notes. But I talked to a black, they were like, girl, say that. You talking about it now, you go ahead. And I was like, shh. So again, we all have these varied experiences. All right, Dr. Debby Covington, if you want to jump in there after Catrina. Catrina, I see your mic open.
Yeah, just real quick. Growing up with all of my sisters, I had 3 really, really fair-skinned sisters. And then it was the 3 of us, which were a little darker. But my mom, she had explained to us since we were little kids that when God made us, he broke the mold. It was only just one of me. And she said, I want you to be the best you can be, no matter what. I grew up tall, skinny. Everybody always say, you want to die eating? I say, nope, I eat everything everything. I love food. But this is just how God made me. I've always been 5'9.5". always had corns on my toes. Always had, used to have a gap in my teeth, but at age, when I got in my older, I decided to get braces and change it because of some things I wanted to do in the media industry. But these were choices that I decided to do because I wanted to be comfortable. But as far as the colorism, I didn't really see it at all. You know, I was accepted, but I didn't really see it as an issue for me. But being in childcare, I see it all the time with the children. It starts at a young age. I mean, age 2 years old and up. They don't want to play with them because they're the different color. They want the different color doll. They want this and that because of what they're, because of how their household is. Or it may be a sibling, it may have a different mother or father. So they look different. So they would try to separate it. So to do that, I would help by having multiple things and talking about different cultures. We would talk about the music, or we would have puzzles or books, about different things, just to try to incorporate everybody into it so people wouldn't feel left out, so the kids wouldn't feel left out, because it really starts, and it hurts, they may hurt each other's feelings about what they say, and it starts there, and if they're not taught, it will continue to progress as they get older and older into grade school. So I try to tackle it, and I talk to the parents about it. We even have cultural classes to help them, because it's something that they just don't know. It's something that some children are just taught, and they will be mean. A lot of times they don't know how to be nice about it. So as you grow up, if it's not handled at a young age, it will become an issue as you get older. So that's just all I want to share.
Yeah, Vanessa, will you jump in after Debby Covington, Dr. Debby?
Yes. So I was sitting here listening. I grew up in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which Denise, you said you went to school at Michigan in Ann Arbor. Well, there's a very, very small Black community there. And I experienced more hatred, more abuse, and public humiliation and degradation from my own people. And it took, like people have talked about, walking to school. I never knew when a Black person was going to attack me verbally. It could be words, it could be sticks, it could be being spat on, my hair pulled, whatever. It was clear to me that I was not worth anything in my community. And fortunately, I did not have experience of rejection from my family because we are all dark-skinned, but it was the old Black Mitchells. Oh, there go the old Black Mitchells. And oh, here she comes, ABC, Africa's Blackest Child. I mean, I could just go on and talk about, from my earliest memories. I could walk into a restaurant. I wouldn't know anyone in the restaurant. And if there were Black people in the restaurant, they would just fall out laughing. They didn't know me from Adam, but they would laugh at me. And it was just the most publicly humiliating thing that I grew up with a lot of fear. I was afraid to walk in front of people. I was afraid to talk. I grew up, and God showed me that I grew up with the spirit of fear. And it took many, many years to really kill that spirit that came from my own people, my own community. And so I felt more safe among white people because color wasn't an issue with them. I was bused from an all Black school to an all white school in second grade. And, we dealt with white kids talking about us coming in, but at least there was some level of acceptance. I didn't have to worry about being picked on and called out until I got back home. And then I was in the community, and then it started all over again. So at some point, we have to be responsible. We have to take ownership and say, we did this to each other, and it is not right, and we need to stop.
That's a Selah moment.
Yes, yes. And I want to say to Debby, I am so sorry that you went through that. I'm listening to the different stories, and it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking how we're in this United States of America, and the fact of the matter is, we're in a white society that all the premise is built on white superiority and white supremacy. So all of these thinking and the Jim Crow laws and the Reconstruction era, all of this kind of thinking, it came from people, putting those thoughts in our minds that you're nothing. And I think about our dolls. When I'm 63, so I'm in the baby boomers, and the fact that the only dolls I had to play with were white. When I think about Columbus and who discovered America, really, when I think about the even the song, just recently discovering that the song from the ice cream truck was actually a song that was geared towards calling us the N-word and watermelon and I mean, the history behind that. So, as a child, I was teased. I was the lightest in the family. My life made me think about it was the monsters that had the white girl with the monster people, and she looked normal and they looked like monsters.
Addams Family.
Was it the Addams Family? But I was teased for being so light, and I was teased because I got hazel eyes, and mainly came from family. Well, my immediate family, not my other outside family, but I just ignored that coming from my brother. But going into high school, the jealousy of people thinking, oh, the boy's gonna like you more because of your complexion or because of whatever. And it was just hurtful to me, and it still is today, that we don't love one another, that we don't embrace each one of our sisters. Particularly, we should know better than anybody else the importance of loving and caring and treating one another with respect and with honor. So, some of the stories have really touched my heart, but it's very important to me. I would say in the last 5-6 years, as I've been doing all this sensitivity and diversity training and research and everything, that I have discovered so much about being in this white society, white supremacy, and how it has affected our children, how we've been indoctrinated with thinking that, dark skin is bad and light skin is good, or whites are better. I mean, there's studies, there's all kinds of. CNN did one some years ago with I can't think of his name, but just little children, talking
Jane
about.
Elliott did several studies.
Pardon?
So Elliott did several studies.
Yes. Oh yeah, Jane Elliott did some studies too. But I was thinking of Anderson Cooper. If you guys look that up, but it's just imperative. And I'm a grandparent, and my grandson, when he was in elementary school, he came home one day and said to me, "Nani, I want to be your complexion." And he put his little arm up next to mine. That just tore me up. It broke my heart. And I purposely just, wanted to teach him about love, being who you are, being proud of who you are. But I think that that's what needs to really happen in our community, that we really study, identify. I think Dr. Debra talked about our identity, knowing who we are and being proud of who we are, and just loving and caring about one another.
I would say acknowledging it. So I think the problem is that we haven't tried to do anything about it. We just kind of been living with it and dealing with it and getting over it individually. But it's a systemic problem. We know that it was designed to be that, and it worked really well. But we know the damage that it's doing. So how do we begin now to start to change the narrative, as Dr. Black continues to say this entire time? How do we begin to do that? And apologizing is really sweet, but Debbie had to deal with that all of her life and still does, whether she can know it or not. And the fact that it's happening, that it comes from us, that should not surprise us either, because us is is the closest people to you.
Right.
And so in your community, that's where you get it because they've been indoctrinated just the same way. And so what can we expect? So I think we can begin, first of all, with giving ourselves some grace, our people some grace, because when the whole time Debbie was talking, I was thinking, they were just as wounded as she is. They were just as tormented as you were. That's why they were doing that, trying to feel better. And we know that the system is like that.
And that's one of the things that as I grew up, I did not hate my people because I knew that they were victims as well.
Yes.
But it's still hurts. Anti-Blackness is global.
Yeah,
it's not just here in the United States. There is a disdain for Blackness. There's a dehumanization associated with people who dislike Blackness. I mean, that's the fundamental issue for Blacks in this country, is that we are not seen as human. And so it's inherent upon us to first stop it in our own families, in our own community. And unless we name it and make a commitment, just like there's all this stuff about anti-racism and how to be an anti-racist, how do Black people how do Black people stop anti-Blackness in our own community?
Yeah, I want to jump in real quick because you said something, Dr. Black, that speaks to how we stop it in our own community, which is, when the 60s came out, it was a theme song, I'm Black and I'm proud. And so representation is so important. I know for me, just, when Issa Rae came out, when Insecure came out, it was so nice to see a narrative about a Black woman that wasn't the same monolith or the same, oh, this is the typical Black woman. It's like, oh, wow, she's awkward. She grew up in the burbs. She didn't have a hood experience. It was just good to just see another version of what it meant to be Black. It was like, oh, okay, it's not just one kind of Black person, right? And so I think it's our responsibility, those of us who are in the media, those of us who are in entertainment, those of us who are a part of controlling the narrative, to contribute to that. Me as an artist, I've always done songs that either address colorism. I mean, recently I just came out with a song called Black Girl Magic, have another song coming out called Melanin. And, even thinking about Beyonce's Black is King, when I watched that, I cried. I've watched it twice, and I'm gonna watch it again because it just fills my heart with so much pride to be Black and to celebrate Black features. Those are the kind of conversations that need to happen, and it only happens when representation happens, when you see yourself on magazine covers, when your family celebrates, like, oh, that's a beautiful nose, that's a beautiful person. When we look at Africans and it's just like, I remember exactly, and not thinking like, oh, you African booty scratcher. That's like, wait a minute, what? We're beautiful. You know what I mean? Like, we're amazing. Like, look at how different, and when we stop being so afraid of different, I think that is how that conversation starts to shift. Even now, my husband and I are dark, but, with our daughter, he's like, oh, she got that good hair. And I'm like, what are you talking? Just because her hair is fine. And I'm like, she has good hair because she has hair.
Don't get me started.
Don't talk about the hair.
Oh, he is in for it. He is in for it with that hair.
That's another combo.
That's another combo.
Go ahead, Mahogany.
Toni Morrison says the artists in every culture and every time in history have been the people who change things. And you mentioned Beyonce just now. There you go, sister. And so people who are artists, and Pam, you Mahogany, people who have that platform, you're almost like the griots of our time. And
like Debbie, Maria.
Okay, yeah. So lead. People are looking at,
and I want to speak
especially in our culture.
And I want to jump in just really quickly and say, it really touched me for Beyonce to be the one to do this, because the idiosyncrasies of colorism that we have amongst us as Black people, you know what I mean? So for her as a lighter skinned Black woman to really celebrate Blackness and to do a song specifically like, oh, brown skin girl. You know, I just think that it was just so affirming and it was so beautiful. And I feel like that conversation needs to happen more. And I feel too, like women, I'm so grateful that there's a spectrum of color, you know, in this conversation, because I feel like people never really tap into the struggles that lighter skinned women have, which is the jealousy, the discrimination, the not feeling Black enough. You know, that your whole identity kind of gets stripped from you because, oh, you can't relate to the struggle. And so I know people who are lighter skinned and they almost are hyper Black because they feel as if they have to prove they're Black, you know, and that's not fair, you know. So us just being able to have those kind of conversations amongst ourselves and constantly affirming that we are beautiful, that we're extraordinary, telling our babies from when they're little, you know. I really applaud the women who were like, oh, I never really dealt with colorism because my parents held me down. So much is just in that. As parents, can we just affirm our babies, you know?
Yeah, that's so powerful, Mahogany. And I'm so thankful that when I was growing up, my parents affirmed me. You know, and so, you know, my mother and my father always told me I was beautiful, always told me I could accomplish great things, always told me that the sky was the limit. But it was outside of those confines when I had to encounter the world that I discovered they didn't think the same way my parents did. And so I think it's important that we do begin to teach our sons and our daughters the truth about who they are and how beautiful they are in the skin they're in, whatever color that skin may be. And you're right, we do need some new representation, you know, because, you know, I appreciate all the movies with Black people, but I don't need to see another story about a welfare mother. I don't need to see another story about a woman who's a prostitute. I don't need to see another Black girl who's strung out. I want to see the positive Black role models, the positive Black images. And so even as I look at this panel today, that's why I say everybody here represents a different spectrum of life. And I'm so thankful for the representation that we have here, all the different degrees that are represented here, the different jobs that are represented here, because sisters are doing it. And so I'm so thankful for all of you. And I love the color of the skin that we're in. And Mahogany, you know me, you know this is very intentional. So when me and Denise got together, we started talking about chocolate girls and then assorted chocolates. We said, you know, we need some dark chocolate and some white chocolate and a little bit of caramel and chocolate in every color. So we couldn't put together a panel of just dark-skinned girls. We had, and we know people in every color, and I'm thankful for that. You know, I almost put a white girl on the panel, except that this is about colorism, and nobody really stopped to define it. So let's define what is colorism, because I think it's important that even as we started the show, I hope people went and looked it up and said, colorism, is that a real word? And you got to know spell check tried to change it several times, but colorism is an issue. So if 3 or 4 people can jump in quickly and just define colorism and talk about, had you ever heard of it as a term before this conversation?
Color struck is what I heard growing up. I thought I made this word up, quite honestly. I used to teach diversity for 15 years, and we were always adding isms to our list. We made sizeism as a part of our list, and we made colorism as a part of our list. I had never heard of it until one day in class we were talking. And so, but I know what it is, and that is, it is a learned behavior that privileges one hue of person over another for whatever reason, positive or negative. It's systemic and it's divisive, and it was created just for that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And one person of one hue think that they're better or cuter than another.
Right, that whole better or cuter than another, and that's within a certain ethnic group. And so this is not how other people treat us, but it's how we treat one another. Somebody else, your understanding of colorism.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and we were trained to do that on purpose. I mentioned the house nigga and the field nigga. That was the whole point of that, to keep them from uprising so that they would not be plotting against the massa.
Say it, Dr. Debra.
It never ended. And by the way, I love your voice, sister. That's a great alto voice you got there, Maria.
Maria.
Yes,
and Maria is also
you made up for it with that voice, girl. If somebody heard you, they wouldn't know you that light, because they were a dark woman. I'm serious. That may not be a compliment, but it would be for me.
I want to know about Marlyn. The hues of her daughter, are they all like your shade, dark shade?
No, they're the rain. They're all different colors. They're so beautiful. Like all of them. People, when they see me, they expect I have all light-skinned girls with the same kind of hair.
Right.
And so when they hear people say her daughters are so beautiful, they're expecting to look a certain way. And I'm just like, ooh, they in for a treat because they all are different. They're all
different. That's the beauty of our culture. We just all different shades, you know.
Yeah, and they saw even their personalities. Like one of the ladies on the panel, let me go to it. And not Angela, it was Catrina. She said her mother told her when they were born that God broke the mold. And that's what I taught my kids. Like there is no other you. And so you got to be great who you are and not looking at other people, but just being grateful for the way you came out, because we don't have a choice in the matter. So
is there one that is more different than the other, like darker than the other totally? Or?
Well, I have like 4 brown skin girls.
Really?
So yeah, they're almost like the same shade of brown, just a little bit different.
Okay,
so literally,
brown.
My oldest is light skin with color eyes, and then so they all just different.
Give us. There's a lot of different colors on this screen, so give us the group, because I think we gotta,
everyone, even Maria. I have my 4th oldest looks just like Maria.
Okay.
Wow. And then I have
people, when they say brown, other people think something different. Okay.
Sabrina Black, all colors. I have Miss Denise. I got you.
So Marlyn, what you'll have to do is on the next show, you have to come back with a photo of your girls.
Okay. Have our
pictures. Get a chance to see it.
Ladies, when I think about my girlfriend Diane Swanson, she has 7 children, and they're all light. Her husband is light. They're all light. They're all basically kind of like monolithic. They all kind of like are just the same long light skin hair. There's one that was maybe a little bit heavier. Like a little bit heavier, not a lot, but a little bit heavier, just a little bit more curvy than the other one. And she says basically like she had a problem growing up because everybody else was so pencil thin and she felt fat, but she's no way fat. It was like now she's a model, but because but she always had a hard time with that. So that was saying within a family, sometimes if you're so different, a little bit different than everybody else, but your 11 daughters are just everybody's different. So that's good. Yeah.
I just want to check back, Sabrina, as far as for colorism in the modeling industry. I've been with modeling since I've been younger. And even now I design versus model. I still model. I had retired and I came back because what I was noticing is when I would go to castings to pick out the models, everybody would pick all of the fair shaded ladies, with the long hair, real skinny. So, and it would be like hundreds of women there. And for me, I didn't like anybody to get turned away. Because I know how it felt to be rejected when you're not picked for a casting, and their spirits would be broken. And even though you're not going to always make it all the time, but I would ask the producer. I said, I'll tell you what, I didn't pick any models. I want everybody get chosen. I said, I want everybody who did not get picked. I want to dress them, and everybody will look. So as the models are leaving out sad, he runs and catches them, and he'll say, she wants you. And I would end up with about 30 models to dress when everybody else has the 10 models that's dressing for 8 other designers. So they're busy, but I have all of the other models. After I get them dressed and teach them how to walk and do everything and polish, then everybody wants all of my models, which are all different shades, different sizes. And it just
go, girl.
You go. I want the models with one leg. I want the models with, with whatever's going on. I take all models. All models, because everybody is modeling. When you walk out the house, when you put your house coat and your robe on, you can sell that. You are selling. All of you ladies are modeling now. I see earrings, dresses, books back there. I see so many things that you can do and you can sell and just be yourself. And what I do to encourage myself, because I'm always around a variety of different people, I take a good look in that mirror and I go, come on, Trina, you got this, girl. You can do it, girl. No matter who I'm around, I give myself a little. And I just push myself. That's how my mom, I'll show you, my mother, she's a minister as well. But she's always pushes because she knows how my mother is dark skinned. And she was the black sheep of the family because she had fair skinned family. And so she was the black sheep. So she knew how it felt. So she told us that she didn't want us to experience that. So she taught us, like I said, how to be comfortable in our own skin. So we just grew up and tried to share that with anybody who came around. So when those people were walking out, I'm like, come back. I want you. If nobody else wants you, God sent me here for you for a purpose to encourage you.
And
That's
that's what
awesome. That is
Where
awesome.
were you when I was out there, girl?
But hey, Angie, you know what? I still have a modeling team right now, and you are more than welcome. All of you ladies are definitely more than welcome to be a part of the modeling team. We travel, we do so many positive things, and we have a ball. I
You're
mean,
not
all
traveling
state
now, though.
Not
no,
right now.
you know what?
Not
I'm
during
not
COVID.
doing, you know what? We're not doing anything but the
We're
one.
modeling masks.
I know that's right.
And she has some bling masks you should be aware of.
Right.
If
But
I were,
no, we're not traveling now. But when we do, I do all shapes, sizes, up to a size 6X. So definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And ladies, make sure you get a chance if you're hanging out up late night Friday nights. Tune into her show and you'll get a chance to see her in action. This is a blast. Sometimes I just tune in like I'm watching TV. Let me tune in and see what they do. And the sisters are there laughing and just having a good time. And she doing the one woman fashion show. And people just on there listening to the music, grooving, getting snacks while she come back in the next outfit. And you know, and Catrina, I'm so glad to hear you say that about nobody being rejected and nobody feeling left out. Because I saw some pictures recently of you online with a lot of curvy sisters. And I was thinking, what are you doing there with them? And that's what, like I said, you were calling them forward. And Angela, you can still model. Listen, I was trying to get a contract recently. I said, look, I'm over 60 and I'm thinking, I want to be the gray hair senior model. I did some modeling back in the day. So I'm looking to do that as my next career possibly.
That's true.
Ladies, I got you, ladies. Seriously, I have connections. I do a lot of stuff. Like I say, I have all of you are beautiful. We're not too old, and we need something positive and fun to do on the side.
Absolutely. Ladies, I hate to see the conversation end, but you know, we are out of time already. The show is only an hour and a half, and I know it's a lot to be said. But again, this is the conversations on race, dealing with issues of colorism. And as we've defined colorism, it's the issue of prejudice and discrimination, or as Dr. Debra Harris said, being color struck, you know, within your community, within your same ethnic group, within your same cultural origin. And so a lot of times it's the way we treat one another, which is not a good thing. And so we need to demonstrate genuine love for one another. And we need to learn how to be authentic and real in the skin that we're in. And so I'm so thankful that you tuned in tonight. Please tune back in again next week, Monday night, 7 p.m. We'll be Facebook Live again. We want to thank our guest tonight, Pam Perry. It was such a joy to have you with us tonight. And hopefully maybe during the next 4 weeks, you'll get a chance to jump back in. But we have our regular panel, so be sure to come back and see them. I'm going to ask if Pam Perry, if you do a couple of quick closing remarks, and then Denise, we're going to let you have the last words. But again, thank you so much. I'm Dr. Sabrina Black, and this is the Conversation on Race. Pam, then Denise.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Sabrina. Dr. Sabrina, this was really, really good. One of the things I want to say, there's a movie that really just changed the way I felt about my Blackness. It's called The Hidden Colors. Hidden Colors is on YouTube. And Hidden Colors was one of those things that went way back to Blacks from Africa and the whole history of it. It's a series, but Hidden Colors, even if you just watch the first one, you will feel so different about yourself. Us being raised in America is very different, but they keep a lot of history from us. And Hidden Colors explains like a lot of the reasons why things are done. Like why are Blacks so hated across the globe? What is the reason? Is there something that we have that they want?
Well, say that. Yeah. So, ladies, I would encourage you too for next week. Come back with movies that you would recommend, books that you'd recommend, so we can share with our audience things that we know have made a difference. So I'll check that out, Pam. Denise.
Well, ladies, you have kind of been my live model of the book I envisioned. And this is a step toward changing what we've done with the conversation. You got to start somewhere, and each one of you have become a game changer by getting out here and telling your story. And by the end of the 4 weeks, I believe we might have to have a part 2, because other people are going to want to join us. Thank you for taking your time and coming to see us. Thank you so very much.
Thanks, ladies. Love the skin that you're in. You're absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. So are you. You guys are all beautiful.
You stay on screen so I can take a picture. That was one thing that I was told, to take a picture.
All right, so everybody's
what an honor.
she's taking a picture.
Guess I want, is that okay? Anybody have objection?
Are they all
Okay for Peppy to be here?
We're live on Facebook. A picture won't hurt.
The white dog, is that okay?
He's good.
However it went, I got wiped out, but it's okay. Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Night, ladies.
Night.
Bye.
Mwah.
Bye.
Thank you.
Next
Bye.
week.
Back in.
Good
Good
night.
night. See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Tune in next week, Monday, 7 p.m., Facebook Live, Conversation on Race with Dr. Sabrina
Thank
Black
you.
and Denise Smith. Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Love you, girl.
Love you. Thank you, Dr. Sabrina.